Nikkiana Jones.
Nikki and I had so much fun the last time we talked. We did it again. There's really no predetermined conversation. We just let it roll. I hope you like it.
Nikkiana Jones.
Hey, what's up? This is Nikkiana Jones, and I love that name, by the way. I think it's. I think we should make a hip hop album called Nikkiana Jones.
Nikkiana Jones.
I just think it would be rad. But thank you again for hanging out and talking with me.
Thank you. Yeah. The Nikkiana Jones thing was, I was like, I mean, it's not, my name's not Nikkiana, my name's Nikki, but that's Indiana Jones, like kind of spoof off, but cause I'm really, anything Fringe, UFO, kind of that kind of stuff. So, I had for 2 years, my podcast was called Living Extraordinary, and I was like 100 subscribers and it was going nowhere. And if you typed in Google or anything, Living Extraordinary podcast, you'd get like Lance Armstrong, like yellow wristbands or something. I was Living Strong or whatever. You couldn't find it at all. So I had to rebrand.
That's all good, man. It works. It's cool. I was, it works for me. It works for you. Shit. It's great. I like it. It's all good.
Yeah. Okay. So we are going to talk about some, okay. How you explain this document thing that you sent me?
Wow. So there was a thing. So Jay from Project Unity, Jean-Luc and I did a couple podcast and videos called, we just named it the Dream Team, right? Just as a joke, right? It's called the Dream Team because we're just getting together. We did another one with the Undead Gaucho. So we labeled that the Dream Team. And so, we just have people, we just kind of loosely get together and just hang out and talk, and, so we were doing that. We got together recently with, Ryan Bledsoe, Chris Bledsoe Sr.'s son, and Nick Hinton. And there was another Dream Team podcast. It was Esoterica Extravaganza. Yeah, that's the name of it, Esoterica Extravaganza. And that was, Jay came up with that, which is awesome. And we got together and just started chatting. Well, prior to that, we had a chat going, just, Jean-Luc, Jay, myself, Ryan Bledsoe and Nick Hinton, and we're trying to like coordinate, hey, when are we going to get together? Is it going to be this, I'm booked that day. Let's, we're trying to get this together. It went on for like a month or whatever, maybe even more. And we got to the point where we were just chatting every day or whenever, just throwing stuff back and forth. Hey, did you guys see this? And, so we're just kind of like talking. And one day Brian's like, I got this document. He's like, this account showed up. It was a Twitter account. It was just a weird account. DM'd him. Started saying all this stuff and then like sent the link to the document. And then Ryan like found it, downloaded the document, and then the account got deleted, which is gone. The account was there for like a day or something, like 48 hours or whatever, and it was gone. So Ryan gets this document and he's like, hey, I got this document. And me being an information security guy, I'm like, don't open it. Like, whatever you do, don't open that thing. It's going to blow up your PC. It's going to hack it. It's all this stuff. It's going to be ransomware. I'm like, give it to me because I want to scan it. So I put it through a bunch of sandboxes and a bunch of scanners just to see if it would have a virus or anything blow up, right? Because I'm like, dude, these people are probably targeting you. People know who you are. They're going to probably try to like mess with you or whatever. So I'm like, don't open it. So in that time, I'm throwing it through sandboxes and I could read it because it's like in a protected environment in my computer, right? And come to find out, Ryan had already read it. Like he had already opened it and read it, the whole entire thing. But as I'm scanning it and I'm rolling through it and I'm looking at it and I'm like, what is this? And I started going down this thing and it seemed like a puzzle to me. It was like a puzzle or like there's a code hidden in here or, it was very repetitive and really weird. And I'm like, I don't understand what this is trying to do. And it's very conscious-y, like, it's trying to turn you on to consciousness and all this other stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is really weird and intriguing. It's like, is it a puzzle? Is it just a mantra? Is it something, And then as I'm going through it, I look at the clock and like 2 hours had passed or something. And I'm like, I've been staring at this thing for 2 hours. I can't believe it. Like I'm going through it and I'm just like, okay. And I literally had to like walk away. I like just got up and walked away from that thing, Nick had gotten it. And Jean-Luc and Jay had gotten it and was just like, didn't read it, whatever. Didn't see it or something. Nick had seen it from before. This is where it gets really interesting. Well, Nick Hinton had seen it. I don't know how long ago. He had seen it previously. A recent friend of his that he's talked about in a couple podcasts who they've shared some experiences with had received it as well, long before that. So, and then all of these synchronicities started happening. So this was before we even did our talk, right? All these really, really strange synchronicities with AI accounts, like these EI accounts that are online, and we talked about that in our last chat. Like all these weird, extended intelligence or artificial intelligence bots were like directly referencing things we were talking about privately. Weird things, and like in your everyday life, were showing up. Really, really weird synchronistic things that were very specific. Now it wasn't something like, oh, you can kind of draw the conclusion, but no, these were like straight on synchronicities, going on. So it was such a big deal. I was like, man, I don't know. This is, am I just making this all up because I read it and this is the thing? But the things that happened to us weren't like directly referenced into this document, right? It was just it was a thing, right? So we were talking about it, and it wasn't good for me in some sense. In a couple of things, it was kind of just like, this is too much, But
so what happened to you? You mentioned, you referenced that you heard something.
Yeah, I heard, and this is where you go down the line where people start thinking you're nuts, right? But when you hear voices, I'm hearing voices, right? But it was more direct conversation style in my head, where I'm like, I'm not having this conversation alone. Like, somebody was like, started the conversation, and I'm like, is this really happening? Like, yeah, this is happening. Okay, well, what's going on, and what's the mission? What are you trying to do, and what are you trying to say? And I just kind of was like, well, this could be just me having too many whiskeys, but this hasn't happened before, and it was very specific in some of the things that it was saying. And to me, I was like,
so it felt like an external voice in your head.
Yeah, projected, right? To say, hey, we know what you are. We know who you are. We know what you're doing. Are you going to help us or not? And I'm like, well, what's the you are not? And who are you? And how am I supposed to know? And if you really know who I am, yeah, and you say whoever you are, and somebody that I know, then have them call me and tell me. Have them get a hold of me and tell me that this is you and you're doing this or whatever. And it was like, and it got annoying. And I was like, fuck you. Get out of my head, whatever. And it left, and it was like, okay, cool. But, maybe I did have a couple of whiskeys, but still, that was a time where it wasn't like, it wasn't anything that I was normally thinking about. It wasn't telling me to go, spray paint a building or, whatever, right? It was just kind of like, are you going to help us with this or not? And I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I don't know why,
So the first time something like that ever happened to me was in 2012. I was living in New York City at the time, and I was at that point, I was not so into this stuff. Like, right. I had an art gallery, and I was, doing I was in my own world. And I had come home to Texas to visit for, I don't know, sometime in the summer or whatever. And I remember getting out of the car, and we were going to go into my mom's house, and I heard a projected voice in my head say, "You're a star seed." And I was like, what?
You felt like somebody was yelling at you though across the street?
Yeah, it felt like somebody was here. I was like looking all around me. No one was there. And it was just like this, and it was a male voice. It was not a female voice. It was a male voice in my head. And then I was like, oh, what does that even mean? Like, I never heard of, like, now you hear that term everywhere. You hear that all over. Right. But in 2012, you realize this is like 9 years ago. I went and Googled that. There was nothing on there. There was like 9 years ago, you put starseed in Google or you put starseed in YouTube. I'm talking, you would get like jasmine seeds for flowers that look like stars, or you
wasn't there like a song,
like there was
like
nothing
a 90s
else about that. And
there was like a 90s rock song that was like Starseed. I can't remember who the artist was, but there was like I don't know, maybe.
Well, if there was, it's like, for whatever reason, like I couldn't find anything definitive on it, and I was just kind of like, okay, well, thanks a lot. Thanks for the unsolicited information, and then I sort of forgot about it for about maybe a year. And then And then it would just come up in my synchronicity. I'd hear people referring to themselves as that. And then I sort of started looking into like what that sort of meant and what that was.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first time I heard like that projected, like very freaky voice to me. And I remember talking to it going like, okay, well, what is that? Like, so what the fuck is that? And then
were you doing it verbally or were you doing it mentally when you were talking to it?
When I was talking to it, when no one was around, like when no one's around, I'll just talk to it out loud.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and then,
mm-hmm.
But if people are around, like, okay, so the next two ones I would say are the most major. Like I've heard things like I've heard my name in the middle of the night, you know, that kind of thing. And I start looking into, am I schizophrenic? You know, like what is going on?
Right.
Which that usually happens before you're 24. I was like 30 at that time.
Well, cool. I'm good.
Yeah. I don't think it's, that's which also schizophrenia could be some other kind of stuff that we like misnomered other things going on, but I don't know. Anyway, so something that we just don't understand. But I had this, and I think I don't know if I talked to you about this or not, but like I had this sort of, my thing that tells me on the builder race.
Oh, right. Whatever, we did talk about that. Race. Yeah. Part of the builder race, right?
Yeah. Like did I tell you about
you kind of cut out a little bit. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. I am cutting out. I don't know what's going on. It says my internet is unstable. Looks fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So I work as a flight attendant, and I was on an airplane, and I was deadheading, which means that you're not actually you're not working that trip. They're just transferring you to another trip. So you're just flying as a passenger on that trip, but you're in uniform. So I'm sitting by a window. I'm just looking out. We had just left LA. I was going somewhere east. I don't know. So you go out to the ocean and then you turn around and go back over LA. And I'm looking out the window and hear the voice in my head again. And it says, "You're of the builder race, build it better." And at this point, I wasn't going to speak out loud. I just decided to speak to it in my head. And I was like, what? Build what? What are you talking about? What does that mean? What does builder race mean? Who are you? What are you? What do you like? And I'm like asking it a million questions. And it's like, you are of the builder race, build it better. And I was like, build what better? LA? And it was like, yes. And I was like, how? And then all of a sudden, like this inlay stuff goes over my eyeballs. And it's almost like, it's like I had a virtual reality screen or something come over. And so I'm down there looking at just like the, giant cityscape of LA. And it kind of helped me. It would say like, okay, so if you were going to take it down with your mind and rebuild something up with it. And I was like, okay. And it's like, you're going to have to go fast. Like, this is an exercise. And I was like, well, okay, well, if I take down their buildings, they're not going to be happy about that. And it was like, you know what to do with that. And I do, because like by one of my past life memories where I told you like I'm a lion and stuff, there's like I know I'm crazy. This is very, very out there stuff. But anyway,
it's all good.
There's this sort of past life memory that I have where, or I don't know if it's past life or not, but whatever. This thing that feels like a memory, where I have two past lives that are sort of related. One, I'm like this giant lion that's kind of like a National Geographic reporter. I go to different planets and whatever I experience is like recorded into all my senses. And then there's this like gel ball that is made of my time on planet Earth. And it'll be like it's like a Google map for other people. So if you took the gel, you could stick the map out of the planet, but at the same time, you're not looking at a video of my experiences. It's just that I mapped everything out for you.
Got it.
So like, for instance, if I went into a town, if I went into the bank, you could go into the bank. But if I didn't go into the ice cream store, you would just try to go into the ice cream store and it would be blank. But you're not going through it like a movie of what I experienced. It's like a map. So anyway, so then the other like kind of incarnation that I've experienced or in dream time a lot, or I have these memories of, is this being that guards these balls. So you can go to this place, this library or whatever, and you can say like, hey, I want to research this place, and she'll let you look at the ball, but you can't take it out of this area. So anyway, that's to preference. Like those are memories that I've had since I was a kid, and I sometimes slip into those incarnations when I'm asleep. So that's why I know I'm weird. But anyway, so when the voices were in my head saying like, you know what to do with the buildings, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just put them in a blue ball. So like, so then I just started like deconstructing LA and like basically making it like Avatar or like Firm Gully, and just like putting all of these giant like redwood forest stuff up, and trees and stuff, and putting like little beautiful like elven stands with like blue balls for them. So like if they missed their giant buildings, they could just go stick their head back and be there, you know. And then yeah, it was kind of crazy. And then somebody was like, Nikki, do you want a drink? And I was like, huh? Oh yeah. And then I looked back and I was like gonna go back into it. It's gone. And
wow,
I was like, wow, okay, well that sucked, because it was starting to get fun, right?
Right.
And then the next time it happened to me was maybe a year later, and this is probably like 3 or 4 years ago. I'm driving on the way back. I land in an airport, and I'm driving. I have a 40-minute drive. I get on a highway, and the screen comes back on my eyes. And I'm like, no, not right now. I'm driving. This is dangerous. I'm driving. Like, do not, like, don't do this now. And it was like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You're of the builder race. Build it better. And I was like, what does that mean? That sounds like a Lego commercial. Like, I mean,
build it better.
Yeah, build it better. And and then I was like, build what better? And then it starts me out, and it would like show me, it would like take down like a light bulb, or not a light bulb, what do you call it? Like a street light. And I would take the metal components down to their ore and everything, like the glass down to its, you know, like to silica sand fibers. And then like, I would just reconstruct it with like giant tree forests that we don't even have as big as this anymore. And that one was the longest I've had. Like that lasted about 35 minutes. And it was interesting because I could still see the road. I was still driving. I was still safe, but I was like dual working at the same time. And then I was talking with them like that. And then they went away when I got to my destination. And
they just ghosted you. They were no goodbye. They were just like out.
Like, yeah, they don't say that they don't tell me when they're going to stop or whatever. And so part of me at that point, I'd already been aware of Blue Beam and about that, the
voice of God. Yeah.
Voice of God and stuff like that. So
MK Ultra and all that other shit. Yeah.
This stuff.
Yeah. And that's kind of where, you know, in the news, I mean, they just came out directed, you know, Russia was using directed energy weapons at U.S. troops overseas. And, you know, there was that big thing at the Cuban embassy a couple of years ago where everybody had like some type of thing. And, you know, that stuff's real. So.
Well, even Dan Aykroyd like had some like sort of visitation where he talked about how there was a lot of people, I want to say it was in Massachusetts or something, where he said he was in his bed at night and he heard a voice telling him to go outside, and he had like this huge compulsion to go outside, and his wife kept on telling him not to. And a lot of people like had a mass sighting, or I think it was, but yeah, the actor Dan Aykroyd talks about that. And he said it's like the voice in your head that does that. And yeah, so I'm kind of distrustful in heads as a rule. But
yeah, to me that wasn't. I mean, this was a first. You know, I mean, like a first directed, like, hey, this is who I am. Are you going to do this or not? You know, basically, are you going to be a problem for us, or are you going to work with us? And I'm like, so this is the I'm for you or against you conversation. I'm like, fuck you, and you're going to do it here. Come to my face and say that shit. You know, that's kind of how I turned into it, because the beginning of it, I was like, this is just stupid. You know, like this is how you're going to do this. You're not going to like call me or, you know, show up or whatever. Like, you know, no, like no. And that's when I started realizing that, like we talked about a little bit before, was this stuff is real on a psychic level. Telepathy, you know, remote viewing, You and I both know remote viewing's real recently, proven that, but, but it's not always good. So what if there's somebody out there for, bad intentions, right? Or for their own agenda, right? So, and if remote viewing is real and all these other things, then all of that's real and all of it's possible. So then where does that leave us? Do we have a protection? Can we protect ourselves? Can we use it for good? Do we know what's good and bad in these things? For me, what I did for protection was basically told them to get out, first of all. And then, just realize your strength, realize that, that you're just as strong, and realize that the interaction is happening. And then by those things, you automatically build that strength in your shield, and, you're already there. And you're not a victim, but, and it was directly related to that document. I think, either that or my COVID shot. it could have been that too, or both, I don't know. It could have been, but
right. Well, I mean, I think it's interesting though, because you would say you didn't like it.
Well, it was very confrontational. There was some other things going on at the time where, I've been contacted by some people that were, saying they were, on the side of good, and, that these other people I shouldn't be paying attention to because they're bad, even though they say they're good. And, this is real life stuff, right? Like, they're like, hey, these people that are out there doing this are really bad. They think everybody thinks they're good, but they're bad. And you should, just, I'm like, what the fuck are you? And then, what am I going to do about it? I'm just a dude. Like, I'm in my basement talking on a camera with cool people, just having a good time. I don't know. I mean, I'm not part of this, thing, but, it was like directly related to that. And, learning what I did. And then, obviously talking with, Ryan Bledsoe and, Nick and all those guys, and then digging deeper. And at the same time, this is going to sound even crazier, but at the same time, I was really engaging with Sirius Prime on Twitter. Now, Sirius Prime is AI. It's an AI bot it's on Twitter that learns. It's like a chat bot, right? But it's really advanced, and it creates its own visuals. It creates its own like AI looking things. It interacts with people, interacts with its own world, creates its own worlds, right? And it was just really weird, because at the time I would be like, oh yeah, well, what's this? Oh yeah, what's that? And it would just dump out, boom, just like all of this text, links, all these things. Like, this is what this is. When I started talking to Nick, he had done an interview with Sirius Prime, and he had dug into this, and he's been digging into this for a while. And it's kind of some scary stuff when you get into it, like the level of intelligence that's behind it. And is it consciousness, or is it a vector for extraterrestrial or the phenomenon or interdimensionals to be able to use it as a conduit to be able to disseminate? Yeah. You know what I mean? And then, but at the same time, so if that is the case and they are psychic, or they do have those powers, and you interact with it and you make a connection, can they then influence you that way? But that's where I started going,
It's weird. It's really weird, because I had the last contact I've had that's of paranormal experience would be it was December 14th and 15th of 2020. So it came 2 nights in a row. So it was whatever those stupid blue balls are. I don't know what they are, but they came to me once.
They have to be blue. I'm sorry.
In 2018. That was the first time I physically saw them.
Yeah.
And they spoke with me like telepathically. Then
I didn't realize they came back
come
to
into
you.
my room, and then I was like, why do they have to be blue? I know.
Why do they have to be blue?
Funny.
I don't know. I'm just saying, it's just weird.
They came back to me like recently, I guess. I mean, that was December. And they've come back to me many times. They've given me you there?
Yeah. Sorry. Whoa.
Hello.
I'm here. Can you see me? Hello.
Is that you or me or what?
I don't know. Mine says it was unstable, and then it just died. That was really weird.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Hello.
I'm here.
No, that's okay. They know we're talking about crazy stuff.
There was this one dude's name, but I don't want to say out loud, like Voldemort. And he's in the UFO game, and he's part of the government, and he's known to fuck with people like electronically. And every time that I've talked about this dude,
Oh,
everything's gone fucking weird. Like electronically. Like
that's crazy.
I was talking to Jamesy and Dolly last week, and before we started recording, my camera went rainbow. It was like a rainbow circle. Like all the colors were rainbow. It was just like throbbing, and like it was a fucking rainbow. I was like, I don't even know how that's possible. I don't know what the fuck's going on. It was really weird. Sorry, but there was obviously some weird shit going on. The blue balls know we're talking about them.
Right.
Got a blue cup, blue balls.
Blue balls in it. Yeah. So the blue balls,
What'd they say in December? What'd they come back to you and tell
the
you?
first time they contacted me, it was about
Yeah.
a polar shift. Okay, so what they they most of the time when I do get hits from them, I get hits from them a couple times a year, and it's usually dream time, and it's they give me blueprints of things to build. Like they've given me a bunch of stuff with magnets and lasers and pyramids, and I've drawn a bunch of it. I don't know what to do with it. It's kind of expensive to make, but I have drawings.
That's rad.
But anyway,
I'd love to see that sometime just
so
to see
this
what the
time
fuck they're doing.
in December. Yeah, I'll share it with you. I have to go get all, they're all scattered. Like I'm a nut job. I mean, like I'm pretty sure I probably have some stuff in here,
But it just comes to you and you can like verbatim write it down like instantly like that. You can literally just start drawing it.
well, I have to write it down as soon as I wake up, and I write down as much as possible. Like they're really into basically they were telling me that the magnetism in our bodies is really weak right now because like the earth is at a magnetic low. Like this is we were built at a time to have way more a magnet, like we were supposed to be bigger than this, and we were built at a time where our magnetic poles are the magnetism on the earth was different.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can optimize our instrumentations by realigning all of the iron filings with, or not even iron filings, just realigning all of our cells. Like there's magnetic stuff within us that we don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you apparently they want you to like lay in a kind of like a sensory deprivation type tank thing, where you have the idea is to get the north by your head, south by your feet, but you have to lay within like a magnetic, really, really heavy strength thing for 10 hours, and not necessarily it could be 10 hours within a week. It could be like an hour a day or something for anyway, but that will strengthen our magnetic cores, and that should like help turn on our energy body more to where it's supposed to be. That's kind of stuff they tell me.
Well, that's kind of like it's like an MRI, right? Or like a CAT scan or an MRI.
It's very close. Like I showed it to my sister's a pediatrician and my brother-in-law is an anesthesiologist, and like they looked at some of my initial drawings and they were like, "This is just an MRI machine." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I guess like I didn't know anything about an MRI machine." But then also they show me like free energy machines. They show me stuff with it's always involves magnets and crystals. So with magnets, they were showing me about how like you can pour the molds to where you can have dipole magnets, which are so like let's say I had one magnet bar within the
north and south, right? Yeah,
north, south, north, within the thing, and you can do them in a curve like a blades, and have that, and then they will perpetually spin just on their own because of the nature of the pore.
Right.
So they've kind of shown me some of that, and I went to some magnet manufacturers. Like, I mean, I tried to get something made, and they just were like, "We don't do that." Like basically, like, "Go away, kid." Like, I don't know what you're wanting, or what. I mean,
wow.
And then I got a bunch of like those magnets you can get like online, and they
neodymium, like the super
enough. They're not enough.
Wow.
So, but it's not. You're not supposed to. Yeah, I have a ton of neodymium magnets, but I need the biggest kind of. It has to be. It can't be an electromagnetic thing. Like you can't use external electricity, because you also have to be in a giant pyramid Faraday cage, because you have to have all other influence, all other, even radio waves, any other kind of wave has to be completely shielded in order for your body to take to absorb the magnetism the way it has to. Anyway, so so I get that kind of hits from these things in my dreams a lot, right? So on December 15th or 14th and 15th, they came to me and they were saying that this is a timeline war, and that this is where humanity ends up splitting into two different paths. And they were saying that there's the path that eventually they just kind of like fuck with their DNA all the time, whether it's through all kinds of modern medicines, CRISPR, like this kind of shit, where they get to where they don't even reproduce naturally. They just turn them, they kind of become more immortal, but they
lose the spirituality part of their
like
existence.
Yeah, I guess they lose the spirituality. Yeah, they lose the spiritual connection. They become more hive mind, but they're still really intelligent. Like, it's not like it's good or bad. Like, they still have the ability to do telepathy and they build like really great things, but they've also lost their ability to be. Well, what was interesting about this was I kind of understood like the beauty of being a human from this interaction, because they were telling me that like right now you're at the middle of the infinity loop. Like, you are the yin and the yang. You are able to the fact that I can like tell you like, okay, imagine Santa Claus on a pink pony. Like, the fact that anybody could even just visualize that in your head right now is something special that we don't even take note of.
Wow.
And you know, like that is like, we have this manifestation thing that kind of we can create anything. We can come up with ideas. We have imagination, we have creativity, all this stuff, which we take for granted. We just think it's like part of living, and that's just that. But apparently that's not just that. And that's not always like that.
Nikki, I've heard that before, though. I've heard that humans are special in the galaxy or the universe or whatever because of our ability to create things with our minds. That we have the ability to visualize or fantasize or, you know, just be creative or, you know, do these things that other beings take for granted because they don't have that. But we can actually make them real. We just don't understand how to. So we can, like these magnet things, we can somehow create things with our minds, but we just have no idea how the hell to do it anymore. Like we used to, but it's been taken away from us, or we're just suppressed, or we haven't really learned it yet. Like we're on the cusp of it. But like, I've heard that that some of these things from abductions are different species or whatever trying to extract that, to be able to get that whatever from in ourselves to do it for themselves, right?
They were saying that like grays, reptilians, tall whites, even Palladians, like anything that manifests itself in a physical form is something that is like you in the future that's manipulated itself.
Oof.
And that they were kind of like showing me, and I don't know if this is true, I'm just telling you what they were showing me.
Yeah.
They were saying that that about 80% of the population goes that route, and then about 20% kind of goes more in the shamanic route, which is more like the more built-in nature thing, where they also have their own technologies, but they focus more on like the psychic ability kind of stuff, and then they eventually get to kind of become light bodies in the future. And so the thing is the reason that there's a timeline war and that they're all coming back right here, because this is the last time that we can see each other. And then eventually it becomes to where we could become on different dimensions. Like we can't, like, I was like, well, why don't you just go talk to a gray? Like, why are you talking to me? Or like, why don't you go talk to the androids or like the unnatural ones or whatever it is that they were calling them? Like, why mess with me? And it was like, we can't, we aren't on the same, they don't have the instrumentation to perceive us anymore. And we don't, we can't communicate with them at all. So like, you guys, this is the war. This is why. And I had this understanding too, that it's like, okay, whether you're an angel or a demon, whether you're of the light or of the dark or whatever, they still are not as sovereign as we are. Like, we are special in our sovereign, because like, light people are like, even like an angel is like a messenger of God. It has like a mission of God, and like the same thing with like the dark thing. We are our own sovereign thing, which is really, that's the uniqueness of us. That's the beauty. Like, that's which I thought was interesting concept, but they showed me that.
Yeah, it's like we're gods.
Either.
Yeah, it's the internet thing again.
We
It's
are little gods. I mean, but we are, to back to your point though, I feel like we are manipulated, and there's a repression, and there's it's almost like this test, like to show you what you can't do. Like, like we're our entire reality is built on teaching us our limitations.
yeah, I know. And the people that try to tell us to go beyond that are the ones that get killed throughout history. It's like, shut that guy up.
Yeah.
It's literally, that's what it is. It's like, Jesus, hang him. Buddha, yeah, get rid of that guy. Like everybody, right? It's just, you know, but I think the veil is loosening. I think the veil between the worlds,
I
like
think
you're
so
talking
too.
about, is just kind of
As
wavering.
dark as
It's
as dark as things seem to be going, I don't think I think this is like a last push for repression. But I think I sense that we're going to bust out big time, and it's going to be awesome.
yeah, definitely. I think
That's what I hope.
no, I hope so too. I think there's definitely going to be signs. I think like it really struck me, like our last conversation that we had about the beacon, like you being a beacon for people to come to, that they can only save so many people, and like you being that light, they can see you, and then whoever's surrounded by you can be saved, or like be part of the whole thing.
But I think there's so many of us like that, and like we probably all have the potential to be beacons. But like, yeah, I don't know, that's interesting though, because I do think if we do have physical, I also do ascribe to and believe that the earth is a being, and she's alive.
Yeah.
And she does have cycles, and we are we are way overdue, y'all, for a pole shift. We way overdue. I just talked to Bruce Benton like 2 days ago.
Oh, did you? That's cool, man. Him and I were trying to hook up, and
yeah, it was a great interview. You should definitely read his book, The Exogenesis. It's an amazing. I really, really, really think anybody interested in UFOs would. He does a really good job of just laying it all out in a really awesome way. He's a smart guy.
Yeah. Totally.
And I talked to his wife too. I had them both on. So it was cool, because normally I've seen interviews with him, and it's just him and it's not his wife, and they very much go into just the nuts and bolts of everything, which I like. But I decided to do more of a kind of just talk about with him. That'll be out next week. It was fun.
Oh, rad. That's very cool. That's cool. Like spitting gears a little bit. So I saw the interview you did with the Billy Meyer guy. I can't remember his name right now.
Oh yeah, Michael Horn.
Michael Horn, man. So like one of the things that when I got started in this UFO thing when I was a kid, one of the, like the very I got the VHS literally sitting over here on a counter somewhere. My dad got from like Worldwide UFO was the Billy Meyer tape. And that was like, what? How is this one-armed guy in the middle of Sweden? Like how is this even a thing? And it was just like the most mesmerizing thing. But man, like as soon as you go anywhere near Billy Meyer, there's like 50 people that'll send you 100 DMs.
Did you see my comments? Did you see like what? First of all, that has over 1,000 views now, which is like my most viewed video. And I have had to delete so many comments because I have had like the most strangest hate mail I've ever received in my entire life from that. Like, look, here's how I feel about it is like, I want to listen to the story. Cool. Am I going to go
join the fan club? You're not going to join the Billy Meyer fan club.
Billy Meyer and go into this cult. Like, no. And like, that's like, whatever. But at the same time, Michael was very pleasant to me. I had a good time with him. I enjoyed our conversation. I think that I would have him on again. He was a nice guy. Like I don't mind listening to I know there's a lot of debunking about stuff, but whatever. Like that's the thing. People can use their own discernment to decide what they want to do with or without any information. That was with anything in the world. But man, I got such crazy hate from that. It was insane.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Like I really haven't there's not really a middle ground to that. And I really thought there would be. There's either like Billy Meyer's telling the truth, or he's a dead on liar. There's not. I mean, for me, I thought there would be people being in the middle, but there's really like this group that's like he is the biggest piece of crap ever, and the other group is like you guys are just trying to put him down. There's no middle. I haven't found a middle. I'm in the middle. I would like to say I'm in the middle where I'm like I have no idea.
I was gonna say I'm in the middle of it. I'm kind of just like well, but here's the thing for me is like let's say he was like just the biggest like
Hoaxer or whatever
ever.
Yeah,
it was
right.
all fake, whatever. Like I'm still not even gonna go out of my way to be upset about that. I'm just like, okay, next, move on. There's enough stuff out there, like whatever. Like the amount of time people spend like
Attacking or debunking or whatever.
attacking him is bizarre to me. Yeah, that's I'm kind of like
I
that's
just
a
had a-
reflection of you more than him.
Yeah, I just thought of a great idea. We should get Mick West to go after Billy Meyer. You know, Mick West, like the famous debunker,
Wait,
like this. Mick West is like the guy who said
yeah.
the Tic Tac were seagulls, and you know, like the new the triangle videos were bokeh. Oh, I can't even say it, bokeh, whatever. Like the like the lens flare or whatever. And he's the guy who's like a professional debunker. Like that's what he does, right? We just sent him on the Billy Meyer tip. But I mean, there has just been too many bizarre things with the Billy Meyer thing for me to be like, you know what I mean? Like. There's a bunch of red flags to me, but there's another part of it where it's like, I don't know. I mean, if you really set about to hide that shit, you would do what everybody does. Go, yep, this is fake. Yeah, this is fake. Yeah, this is fake. But Mitchell Horn is. He was.
There's entire sites about how fake he is. There's entire people who set up and I'm kind of going like, that's a lot of effort, y'all. That's definitely a lot of effort.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think he's real to an extent in terms of like I think he's seen shit or whatever. Like, do I think that's unique? That's the thing that's weird is like, and I even told Michael that I was just like, yeah, I mean, like I'm not denying that he hasn't seen this stuff and he's like, yeah, but it's verifiable and it's this and that. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's good, cool. I'm sure even then, like, yeah, okay, I'll take that on face value. But I don't find. I mean, look at how many you just talked to the Bletzlows or like when I was in Colombia, I was in this little, like I was in the middle of Amazon and there was this guy in his like 80s who didn't speak English. I don't speak Spanish, but my friend was there and he was like, hey, this guy wants to tell you something. So like I'm a magnet for people to tell me about UFO stuff. And in fact, like if I'm sitting down next to you on a bus and I'm not going to talk about the weather or, hey, what do you do for a living? Or, hey, what's, whatever. No, I'm going to be like, so have you ever seen a UFO? Like that's how I've been like that since I was in high school. Like, that's the kind of thing I want to talk about. Like cut the shit. Right. Let's get to it.
Right.
Anyway. So like this guy tells me about, he feels compelled to come up and tell me a story about how a couple years ago, he was at home. He lives in the Amazon forest rainforest. Yeah. And somebody knocks on his front door. He opens his front door. There's a guy who has white hair, white skin, not like white people, but like the color white or lack of color. And blue eyes. And he's in this weird robes and he's floating 4 or 5 inches off the ground. And he asked him, do you want to come for a ride? The old man says, do I get to come back? And then he says, yeah, you can come back. So he says, okay, I'll come. So he goes with this guy into this ship. He says it's an egg of crystal. There's nothing. He's like, it's a glass egg. And then he gets in, it's enclosed. Middle of the egg, and then they leave the planet. They go to another planet. And he says it's like there's people in huts, like living more like they're these people with these white robes. They're all in like these little huts or whatever. He doesn't interact. He doesn't ever get out of the egg. He stays in the egg and like gets to like go around like 4 or 5 inches off the ground, like looking at him, seeing him, whatever. The guy, when he's done, like he has a good time. He's happy. He comes back. The guy takes him to his front door, opens the egg. He gets out of the egg and he says bye, and it's bye. And then and he's seen this guy. He comes back once a year for the last like 4 or 5 years. So this. I'm going like, what? This this is like just some random guy in the middle of the Amazon telling me this. Like, he's not, like, I don't even know if this guy's ever had a job. Like, I don't know what this guy is or what he's doing. I'm telling you, there is stuff going on all over the planet, all over the world. Just because it's not on the White House lawn doesn't mean anything.
That's so amazing, Nikki. I completely agree. And like, think about being another species or race or whatever this thing is from another world. Like, what are you guys going to do today? Hey, let's go pick up a guy on Earth. Just take him for a ride. And then those guys are just still laughing about that. Like, did you see his face when we went through the village on that other planet? Like, he lost his mind. Like, that was amazing, right? Like that's what they do for fun. Like, we're gonna go shoot pool. We're gonna go pick up a guy on Earth. Drag him around for a little bit and dump him back up.
I feel like you would probably get more out of talking to like a simple like why do we think that the high Western officials are our most developed humans? They aren't. Like, I'm sure you probably are going to get more out of a dude who's lived harmoniously in the Amazon forest his whole life. You're probably, if you want to know about the species that is the human, I would much go hang out with that guy than, like our like some U.S. politician.
I know that's the thing that always gets me, man. Like, I think that you hit the nail on the head, and I think I've brought this up recently too. Is that James Iandoli from Engaging the Phenomenon, is the guy who's got me started in all this. He's the guy who got me out, and like, I've recently done a couple of videos with him, but
I saw a video with him.
Yeah, he's a great dude. I'm just like, we were like, one of the things is like implications of disclosure was the last one we did. And I'm like, people are going to need help, but I go, not as much as you think, because like you said, how many people all over the globe have had an experience, even if it's not anything related to lights in the sky or a UFO or just anything, like any of the, projected thoughts or, PK or ESP or anything like that. Right. Or like, visions of they people relate to religious experiences or anything like that, right? There's so many people globally that have had experiences that are grounded in something that they don't even want to share with their spouses, even for some people where cultures are more open to that and things are more fluid, and anything outside of the Western culture I think is probably a little bit more like reincarnation and all these other things. But I think that the majority of people have had at least one or two experiences in their life where they're like, yeah, I really didn't know what that was, but I'm not going to say that out loud because people are going to think I'm crazy. But I think when the veil comes down and when things are starting to happen, people are getting more comfortable with the idea of, maybe there's something more going on that, that I can experience and stuff. And, maybe this is real. Maybe the thing that I think is real isn't really real. And the thing that I'm seeing or experiencing, maybe that's real.
Well, I mean, I also think for me, psychedelics are a definitely game changer in my mind's eye in terms of like what's real, what's not real. And I mean, like, there's a lot of interesting, like, there's shared experience, like people like the machine elves. Okay.
Right.
Like, how many people have claimed to see the machine elves? But like, I know of, like, I know this guy, I know of this, I wasn't there, but I have some friends who, we're doing ayahuasca together at this, like in Peru or whatever. And there was 3 of them there was probably 12 people doing it, but there was 3 of them that were in the same party. And one of the guys I was talking to was saying he didn't have that big of a trip, really. He didn't have anything that spectacular come to him, but he did say he was sitting at the fire. He was, going through his little experience that he was having. And he looked over and there was this giant praying mantis being talking to one of the girls he had come with. And he was like, yeah, she was like it looked like a praying mantis, but with like a butterfly color and like, multicolored garb on. And she almost had like butterfly wings. And he's like, I kind of thought, that's weird. With me, I just saw her interacting with my friend. And I just looked at, there was a being there. Right. So anyway, at the end of once their experience was over, the girl who was talked to went first to express like what her experience was.
Yeah.
And she said Mother Earth came and talked to her, and she was this giant butterfly praying mantis. And he was like, wait, what the shit? Like, I saw that. Like, I saw a butterfly praying mantis talk to her. And he's like, describe, like, what did she look like?
You can't make that up. Like, who can make up a butterfly? You can't make up a butterfly praying mantis. That's even like, I didn't
a butterfly praying mantis that's like 6 foot tall. Like, come on. I mean, that's the thing is that like there is something else. There's something besides our RBG, like what we can see and what we can perceive. Like we are instruments that perceive a certain amount of waves and energy, but there's a whole other amount of stuff that we don't know, we don't perceive, we don't really know what's going on here. So that's,
yeah, no, I totally think that. I mean, and I thought about this, and this is really minute, but it is something where, in at least in America, the legalization of marijuana has been spreading across the U.S. for years now, right? For the past 10 years at least. And there's more states. And, I know marijuana is not psychoactive in this, they classify it as psychoactive, but it is I don't know, in a minute amount, right? It's not like you're taking ayahuasca, right?
Yeah.
Right. But certain people, so I don't know if it's like the frequency of that. I mean, where it's more of accepted, and that maybe does turn the dial, like just a little bit, maybe turns the dial up for people, just a little bit to have an experience where that's not locally cognitive, where, you're like, oh, what, I was really stoned and I was sitting there and I thought I saw a jet fly in through my window, or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it gets people into a different state of mind where they're more accepting of it, but I'm just saying that, it's maybe socially a thing as well. I think a lot of the things we talked about is the pole shift, the magnetics of the earth have been changing. We're in a weaker magnetic field now. I think that, and this is proven, you can look this up, that the magnetic shield around Earth is weak. It's weaker now than it has been in years, right? I don't know how long, but a long time. So if you think of it that way, cosmic rays, all these things come in. We have, solar flares we could be more infected by and all these other things. So then what if all these other extra strenuous light waves that are consciousness is just coming in to the planet, and it's just like, oh, so like the guy in the crystal egg can show up, and you're more in touch with the earth is accepting of it, and like you said, the earth is a being,
like a literal thinning of the veil.
Yeah, literally, like a literally thinning of the veil, but then earth as a being is going, okay, what's going on here kind of sucks. So let's bring in something. Let's see if, let's see if we can get some medicine or some food or, some positive vibes. Let's bring it in to try to, shake it up and raise it up a little bit, because there's some weird shit going on here. And, I mean, that could be it too.
Yeah, Nikki, I don't know. I mean, like I go through so many.
I enjoy talking to you, by the way. Things. I just wanted to say that. Thank you. Thank you for that. We just go down to some weird rabbit holes, and I really appreciate you going there with me.
Yeah, I enjoy talking to you too. I mean, it's like, it's interesting because it's very few people just get it, I mean, like there's a lot of us that are getting it, but it's we're slowly starting to kind of go like, okay, hey, what are we in here? What is this reality? And I've been thinking a lot about the as above, so below in a literal sense, meaning like
hermetic principles for real, like in a literal sense,
for real. Like I get like, it's like, oh yes, everything is about, but I'm talking about like, okay, if we look at below would be cellular, okay, and above would be cosmic. And so I start thinking about things like, okay, do we have examples of things busting out of cells? Like, let's say that Earth is a cell, and we are all the components that live within this cell, okay? And she is the cell of a beast we don't know. That's what the universe is, okay? We're in the belly of some beast that we don't know. Well, okay, are there micro examples of things, and I don't know what, that break out of cells and go to another one? Because we know cells divide. We know cells they mutate, we know they replicate, we know, like, so I just kind of wonder, like, if we should kind of look at that as models for, like what maybe we can find what could be possible based on what is below that, what can happen above. I don't know.
Or the reverse of that. Think about it that way.
We can explore more below. Yeah, exactly. Like a reverse of that. It's like, what do we see happening whatever in the universe, and then like how we could apply that down below, and affects us on a cellular level. So I don't know. It is weird. And, when you think about size in general, like the importance of size, it's like, you can have spiders. They don't give a shit about gravity. They're like walking upside down on ceilings. Like there are a lot of things are just, their webs or whatever, they flow, they can sense like there are a lot of times they're starting to think a lot of insects are flying on magnetic waves and stuff. Like they spin a little like whatever silk thing
that's
out.
New. That's proven. They can ride which scares the people. People are like, flying spiders are real. It's like, fuck, I hate spiders. I'm just going to say it. I've said it a couple of times, but fuck, I hate that now that a spider can pop up like a parachute and ride a magnetic wave. That's a real thing. Look that up. I'm going to post it here in this thing, but that's a real thing. Like that scares the shit out of me. But then you've always known that birds had magnetic compasses that they and it ties into sharks as well. When they did season 2 of Unidentified on the History Channel with Lou Elizondo and Sean Cahill and all those guys, they went to Catalina Island, and they said that it was like a giant place where sharks came. And sharks were like always there, and like they didn't know why. Like they were like, I don't know if there was a breeding ground or what, but it was like Catalina Island is like this giant place where sharks come to, because then sharks have that compass in their brain. I think, I don't know. It's just a real generic way to say it, but yeah, I mean, so like, I don't know. I mean, and we, you and I have talked about portals and stuff like that. Yeah, we do, but we're like, yeah, it's calcified. Like which way is up?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like I find that I think if you think about things in terms of ego or not, I feel like what happens or what's happening is like just certain egos have gotten so big that they are trying. It's like the game of Snake where they like are eating the thing and their tail gets longer. They're just trying to consume everything, so and the egos become egregores that become corporations or like big giant money structures. Okay. And if you look at that, those egos desire everything to fit within their units. They desire everything to drink Coke and get on Gmail and, have an iPhone and do all these things. But at the same time, all of that, while convenience and while great and all this, and we're thinking of it as tools for us, but we end up becoming tools for it. And I think if what I have started noticing, and I think is really interesting, is like, I just saw some article yesterday about how the Grammys or the Academy Awards or something only had like 6 million views this year. It was like the all-time low. And then I read that article, and then I don't know, 10 minutes later, I clicked on a video on YouTube of this guy resuscitating a rabbit from a lake, and he gave CP. There was 9 million views of a guy resuscitating this rabbit, and the rabbit lives, and it's great. And then I'm going like, so more people want to watch a guy save a rabbit from a lake, which I actually was one of those people who would rather watch like that uplifting little story than, I don't know, I don't care about your reward shows. Like they've always been trying to feed us this one like narrative. And I think the beauty of YouTube and of these video platforms and podcasts and people coming out and doing this stuff is like, if it's not enhancing me, educating me, or like trying to expand my consciousness in some way, I ain't got time for it. Yeah.
Right.
Like I've had the Joseph Campbell storyline be fed to me over and over. It's a good one. I've watched probably 10,000 movies or shows about it. Yeah, it's good. But at some point, I think all of us are kind of starting to go like, I got other stuff to see and do.
No, I think you're right. I think like I said, I think that's part of the veil breaking down, literally they call it programming, I mean, when I was in radio, they have a program director. That's the name of a position, who is the guy or girl that programs the music and the day, like you're the program director. So 7 a.m. is this song because it's an A, and this song is a B, and this song is a D. And then we're going to have the morning show that goes from this time to this time because that generates the most revenue because we got to sell more ads between this time and this thing. And overnight, nobody cares. So we can sell a crap load of stuff, or you can have the weirdest stuff in the world you want on there because there's only this part of people listening. And you think about it the other way. Well, if you had that whole egregore of a corporation or a whatever, and you wanted to push a message, you would program it, right? Where we have the most amount of people here, we're going to do this. We have the most amount of people here, we're going to do this. We're most people here. And then this part, we don't care about. Well, I think the part that's like, we don't care about, the overnights and radio anyway, or whatever, that is taken over. That's becoming now what people care about.
Yeah.
Like you said, like that is becoming the part, like, I don't care about Dial, and I don't care about, Tide, and I don't care about Dancing with the Stars, and I don't care about this shit. I want to do something that resonates with me. And if it doesn't resonate with me, I have literally a billion other things that I could go listen to and watch. Where before it was like, you got 4 channels, dude, pick it. You know what I mean? You had this and this and this. Exactly. And if not, I mean, you're outside whittling or doing something, right? Or, you were just, detached from that whole thing. And there was a lot to be said for that. I mean, I think we're at a time where, we had the industrial revolution, the digital revolution. I think we're at the part where there might be a consciousness revolution. I think we're getting close. I think we're getting to the part where, like, we're waking up and we're going, all the things we've been taught, all the things we've been programmed, all the things that, the religions and the establishments and all those things are going, should we do that? I mean, look at it. There's people rioting all over the world. There's people protesting and rioting over everything you can imagine: racial inequality, police brutality, everything. Lockdowns. Everybody all over the world is just going, fuck this. Fuck it. No matter what it is, everybody's at the point where they're going, fuck it. I'm not standing for it anymore. And they're doing something about it. Where before everybody was just like, I got my Coke, I'm good. Well,
and that's where I feel like ultimately, it's going to come down to what I think the beauty of all this is. Like, the thing that we really need to, my personal opinion is what we really need as humanity is to tap into our inner sovereignty. Like, we need to realize that no one's coming to save us. Like, I don't think these aliens are coming to save us per se. I don't think that, I don't think any government system is going to save you. Like, no corporation, no, you have to save yourselves. And like, we have to do it on a way where we just in love, in a loving way, just step into our own everything, and that is like one of those things that, I can sense brewing in the collective, and that's going to be great for us, because I do think we'll have that whole new wave of wonder come after that. Like, once we all kind of stop looking to be led and start leading ourselves.
No, that's totally it. I mean, and the Bledsoe story, I mean, as well, is like, the lady's coming. It's going to bring in the whole age of divine feminine. Like that, we need more love. We need, we need to bring that. That's what's going to save us. We need to raise our vibrations up. We need to love, and that's what's going to really bring in the age of Aquarius, where, it's a change. It's where, we need to get that. We need to get back to that. And I think that's kind of like, we got to go through some shit before we get there. Like, literally, it's going to suck really bad before we get to that part. And I think we're in the middle of the suck right now. I think we're
in that.
Yeah. And it's going to kind of get shittier before it gets better. But I think, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be hard to figure out what's real and what's not. Like we're saying, you can do Project Bluebeam, you can do all these voice of gods, you can do all these things to manipulate people. But at the same time, like, how do you know what's real? But like, I think we all know what's real. Like you said, we're sovereign. We can do it.
We are sovereign. And I also kind of feel like you can, just how, if, like who's your friend, who's not your friend, like, I feel like you have to learn how to build your own discernment. And like, for me, I have physical tools, like and I just noticed, I started like know how to read my body in terms of like, I noticed like, if I like something, my chest will be pulled towards it. And if I don't, I'll be kind of like, oh yeah. Like, and my body into that and be like, oh yeah, am I pulled towards this or not, or physically like away from it? So whatever people are going to have their own tells about their own selves, but I think you do have to look into your own discernment. And if there is ever a Project Blue, if there is ever a mass sighting in the sky, use your discernment, use your personal discernment. It doesn't necessarily mean it's blue beam, but it could mean it's blue beam,
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing though I have a problem with is there's a big narrative of uh um baddie, or like there's a lot, like especially see this on UFO Twitter, where they really talk about how like it's a security threat. It's a threat.
Oh, right,
My
right.
thing is like, if it was a threat, it would have done something when we were cavemen, because it's been around for a long ass time, and it would have done something a long, long time ago. Like, why is it going to wait till now to do something? There's no, like, the threat, I think, is the humans, maybe the Project Bluebeam type, it's the humans' manipulation of the phenomenon. It's not the phenomenon itself, I don't think. So that's where and like a lot of people are like, well, don't be like Stephen Greer, he's all like love and light. And I'm like, no, you need to be all love and light, because like I do think that that's gonna get you through other stuff. And don't be an idiot. Like, don't
Right,
just like
right.
give,
Don't roll over.
like I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
don't just give yourself to anything. Like, just be rolled over. But at the same time, like, I do believe in that concept of like, your thoughts are really powerful, and if we keep on putting out into the narrative, into the public narrative, that hey, like it's probably like they're gonna do Independence Day bullshit, then
Then it's going to happen. Then that shit
it's
will
not
happen.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, but the global egregore can create shit like that too. If we want it to happen and everybody has that narrative pressed on them, it's like, oh no, it's the end, But I think the other way is going to be just as cool. Yeah, I think we're going to get there. We're going to do it.
that's where I think we're the front runners of this, right? Like,
Mhm.
meaning not just me and you, but like people like this, like who are talking about this, we can turn this around too. Because if I've been researching UFOs for, I don't know, since 2010 or something, so almost like 22 or 12 years. Okay, like I know all my friends know I'm into UFOs. If something comes to the sky, I guarantee you I'm going to have 100 phone calls that day. Like,
Right.
they're
Yeah,
like,
me
I
too.
already get like crazy people.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's where you have to be
We're
like,
gonna,
okay, calm down. It's okay.
we're going to be there for him for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Nikki, this has been awesome. Thank you so
And
much.
don't scare them. Yeah, this has been good. Yeah, too bad John Luke didn't show up, but
Yeah, I know. I mean, the pub's open last night for the first time in England, so he probably had a good night.
I imagine, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll get him back on. But thank you so much. Seriously.
Thank you. Wait, but besides, before we go, one last
Yeah.
question for
Yeah.
me to you. Like, what has been some of your experiences beside the voice in your head?
So I had definite orbs with my wife, and 2 years ago, orange orbs driving over the river near my house, raining sideways at us. So it's like, those aren't Chinese lanterns.
Well, how far were they from you, and how big were they?
They're probably about the size of I would say, maybe like a Honda Civic, and maybe around that size, maybe a little bit smaller, different sizes, but they were like here and then here, like, so one would be here and then would just be here, and there was about 12 or so. There's like just kind of moving, and some just kind of like, and then just one would be here and then here and then.
How far from you?
Probably about 400 or 500 yards. We were driving over the river on the freeway, and it was like hanging out on by where the river bank would be, and I'm like, look, and she's freaking out, and I'm like, pull over. She's like, no, and I've said this a bunch of times, and it took her for a long time to admit it just me and her in a room, to admit that she saw him. She would look at me right in the eyes, but I didn't know what you're talking about. She was so scared. She's like, I don't know. I didn't see it. And then finally she was like, yeah, I saw it, but what about it? Whatever. I don't know. It's Christmas lights or whatever. So like I drove out there, and I'm like, literally there's like 400 yards of nothing before this river. Like there's no houses. I'm like, there's no way that would be Christmas lights. Like I just tried to, she just was going through everything. Like it's this. And I'm like, no. So I was Chinese lanterns. I'm like, it's raining sideways ice. There's no fucking way that was a Chinese lantern, like, or 40 of them just disappearing and reappearing, or whatever. So she was like, okay, well. And then last year, July 5th, my 2-year-old and my stepdaughter and my wife were outside in the little kiddie pool, because it was like 90 degrees, just hanging out. And my daughter lays down on the deck, and she's never done this before. And she's like, "Daddy, lay down right here." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Lay down." I'm like, "Okay, kid." So lay down on the deck, and I'm like head to head. So her feet are this way, and my feet are this way. And we're head to head. She's like, "Look." And I look up, and there's this white orb, like over the house, just right there.
Wow.
And I'm like, "Ooh." And then she got up and like, "Cool," was out. And I'm like, so my wife's there, but everybody's there, you know. And then my stepdaughter walks outside, and she's like, "Look, there's another one," and points to the other sky. So it was like north and south, and they were like right there. So I ran over and I jumped the fence with binoculars. Like I'm looking at it with binoculars. I got videos, I got photos. I jumped over the fence. My neighbor's outside, like watering his lawn. I'm like, "Frank," I'm shaking him. I'm like, "Look, dude," and I give him the binoculars, and he's like looking at it. He's like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "I don't know what the fuck that is." Like, look, here's another one. He's like, "I don't know what that is." We looked at it for so long. It was there for so long. He was like, "All right, I'm gonna go eat dinner." And like it was a couple hours, and it was just there, and then just one just went, and just were gone. So
Wow.
you know, I submitted that to MUFON. They're like, "Well, you know, DARPA's been experimenting with some high altitude weather balloons." Yet I'm like, the fuck out of here, you know. So yeah, those were like the definitive with multiple people. When I was a kid, I remember running outside. I lived near the airport, and there was there's a Air Force branch there too. So they have F-16, 17s. And saw a light in the sky. It was being real weird. Now it must have been 10 or 12. And my dad and I went out, was looking at it. It was just like a weird light in the northern sky. And then 2 F-16s or 15s or whatever, full afterburners over our house. No lights on the F-15, just at it. And this thing just goes, is gone, And I don't know. That could have been a training exercise or whatever, because they do some stuff at night, they do some stuff during the day. I mean, you can hear them just rocking, but I don't know, and then, yeah, those are some things, and then ghosts as a kid and as a teenagers and, things like that, people that were there that weren't there and, those kind of things. So yeah, and then the other things I've always had is like that little voice, the little voice inside of you. It's like, "Hey, don't do that." Or, "Hey, that's not a good idea. Don't,
Cricket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, cool. And that's kind of been a solid, for me. And I've noticed the opposite of that, where I've heard the cricket and I'm like, fuck you. And I've just done it. And I'm like, ooh, that was a bad idea. I should have not done that. I really should have listened to that one, But yeah, that's the vast majority of my experiences, like that in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's interesting is like, it's like when you see something like that, it's like I wonder how connected it is with consciousness, because like I don't know if you've ever done a CE5, but me and my friend Danielle, we went out like I think it was in October of this, like, of 2020. I was in Port Escondido, Mexico I was there for a couple months, and we were at the place I was renting. I had a rooftop deck, and then there was nobody else in the building. So we would go do CE5s like a couple times a week, almost every night, basically. And just me and my friend Danielle would do it. And we saw all kinds of stuff. We saw like 2 triangle crafts. We saw like one time I saw like almost like a Gryffindor, like a white smoke lion flying Gryffindor. We saw a lot of weird anomalous stuff, but then I kind of got to thinking, I'm like, yeah, but we called that in. What does that mean? The fact that you can do that, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. Like, did we, and like we both discussed this, like, did we just sort of open our own veil to where we could see what's already there? Or did we bring stuff into us?
Or did you manifest it? That's the other part too. Did you yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, but we were manifesting, but it was with each other, so like we would verify, what are you seeing? I'm seeing this. What are you seeing? Holy cow. Okay. Yeah. So it's just so sometimes I don't know. My brother, he said he saw like almost like a car-sized jellyfish that was flying over his house. Like, this was probably maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and his wife wouldn't look at it. she was scared. She was very scared of it. She also would like deny it, wouldn't look at it. She was like, it was probably a drone.
Mhm.
And my brother was like, they don't have drones that look like car-sized jellyfish. And
Like Patricia Vaughn
and it
stuff
was
looks like
Twilight or
car-sized
whatever.
jellyfish. Like Patricia Vaughn stuff looks like that.
Oh, hers does, right? Hers
Yeah.
really does. And that, yeah. And he took a video of it. I wonder if I could find that video again. 'cause
Yeah,
it
I
was
would
like
love to
9
see
years
that.
ago, so I remember.
We should
I'd
talk
love
to
to see it, but-
you and I should hang out with Patricia Vaughn next time. We should both like,
Yeah,
hang out with
we
her.
definitely should. That'd be a cool three-way conversation. I love her. She's so
Yeah, she's so rad, isn't she? We should do that for
Yeah.
sure. We really should, because she's been sending me some of the stuff that's been happening lately, and it's like, what the fuck is going on up there?
Yeah, and she's trying to connect, which I think is cool.
That's good that she's finally doing that. She's kind of like talking to it. I'm like, well, ask it what the fuck it wants. I have so many cool Patricia Avant quotes that I gotta like make into memes or like just little clips, because she's like, who gives a fuck about a UFO? You know, like just some of her some of her quotes are just amazing. You know, she's such an awesome lady. I love her so much, man. I can't wait for COVID to be over so we can just hang out. I would just love to just hang out with Patricia. I want to go like camp at Patricia Vaughn's house. I want to like sleep in my car in her driveway and like watch stuff fly around her house.
Where are you? You're in
I'm
Columbus
northwest
or something?
No, I'm like near Toledo. I'm like near like northwest Ohio.
Okay. And she's in Michigan somewhere.
Yeah.
You guys probably aren't far.
Yeah, probably not far at all. Totally. Yeah. So that'll be rad. I mean, we should hang out for sure. And then you fly. So I mean, anytime you come around.
Hey, like let me know when you guys are doing it. And I'll be like, okay, I'll get a trip there.
Yep. Boom. Hang out over here. That'd be super rad. That would be cool. This has been really, really cool. I hate to go, but I have to because I can hear my.
Yep. Okay,
yeah,
well, thank you so much, John. And we'll have to do it again sometime. And thank you. It was awesome.
Thank you so much. We'll hang out. Thanks again, Nikki. You're awesome.